All right. Welcome to Say What I Mean. And there's some things that we have to talk about today. Now, two main items I want to talk about is the presidential debate that's happening tomorrow, which I will cover, and the Breonna Taylor situation in case, the bigger view on it. So I have a lot of thoughts, and I guess my thoughts is I'm just sick of all of this, to be honest. First, let me go on the Breonna Taylor situation. Now, of course, rest in peace to Breonna Taylor and her family. I want to take a bigger view on this. Now, each individual that lose their life is a tragedy, and they deserve the spotlight and the specifics of their case to be highlighted. And, their families deserve that moment. But in the bigger picture, that's where I want to look at, because this is going to keep happening over and over and over again until we come up with some type of concrete solution. So I'm sick of the revolving door. I'm sick of the cycle. The cycle is innocent Black person get unjustly killed by a police officer, or in the case of Trayvon Martin, a wannabe police officer. Nothing happens. There's an uproar. There's grassroots of support to get the officer or the wannabe officer to go to trial, or some type of charges to be pending, some type of investigation. And what usually happens is absolutely nothing. A disappointment, like in the Breonna Taylor case. Now, I was prepared for this. I think people that was paying attention to the politics of Kentucky kind of knew this was going to happen. If you pay attention to the Attorney General of Kentucky, you kind of knew which way this case was going to swing. And that's a shame. I shouldn't have to know, just because of somebody's politics, how a supposed independent investigation is supposed to go. But we already know. And this kind of theme that I want to touch on today. The people in power are going to take advantage of the situation. So we depending on people that have a certain view to write laws that are fair and to administer justice in a fair way. And that's just not going to happen. It's going to have to be demand. And yes, protests are good, but when we asking for things like police reform, I say this over and over again, we have to be specific. When we just say defund the police, we have to be specific. What do we mean by that? Because what they do is they cloud the picture. They say, oh, defund police, you don't want police officer, when they know damn well that's not what it means. But average people get confused. That's one. Two, it's not, I was going to say it's disappointing, but that's not the right words. For me, it's just the reality that average people don't care. People don't care until it absolutely affects them. Now, the average person, let's just say the average white person, don't have to deal with this. So yes, you have some white people that might say, oh yes, this is wrong, and that's a shame. But the average person, especially the average white person, is just going to be like, all right, they might not give this a second look, even though it's a tragedy. Why? Because it don't directly affect them. It's not an immediate danger to them. For us, it's an immediate danger. And what I don't want to happen, the Breonna Taylor case is in the news now, just like the Trayvon Martin case was in the news. I should say murder was in the news, just like Walter Scott was in the news. You could go all the way back to Sean Bell, Abdou Diablo. So it's numerous cases we can go back to. And once these cases disappear from the mainstream media, it's almost like things go back to normal. That is something that we can't have. no more. This has to be a continuous fight. So whether there's mass protests going on, whether there's whether it's in the news or not, this has to be a continuous fight that we have to know is going to be for the long run. It's not going to be okay. We protest right now, and a law going to be passed next week, next month, or maybe even next year. That's my bigger view of the situation, because there's always excuse. There's always going to be an excuse why and justification given of why a Black person lost their life. Breonna Taylor, her ex-boyfriend was dealing drugs, according to them. Trayvon Martin, he attacked George Zimmerman, and it's always a reason given, even though if you look at it, it logically don't make sense. Obviously, with Trayvon Martin, he wasn't even of age; he was a teenager. Zimmerman was an adult following him, but somehow the victim get turned into the predator in these situations. Even though Trayvon Martin was being stalked by a grown man, he had no right to defend himself. Just like in Breonna Taylor's situation, Kenneth Walker, door get kicked down or bust through at midnight, Kenneth Walker had no right to protect himself. Matter of fact, they put murder charges on him. Thankfully, the outpour was so numerous that they had to drop the charges on Kenneth Walker. But it seemed in these situations, they wanted, so we have no right to protect ourselves. Whatever they say goes, and that's it. So until we come up with real consequences to police officers, until we come up with a real strategy, it's going to continue to happen. And the reason why I'm speaking like this, there's going to be another Breonna Taylor. There's going to be another George Floyd. It's going to keep happening until these consequences are in place. And just because somebody says something like police reform doesn't mean nothing if there's no consequences. What good is body cameras if the DA is not going to act on it? It does no good. So that's why I'm saying we need consequences. We need consequences. We need police to be treated like regular citizens that do something wrong. There needs to be independent investigations, no more internal affairs. It's a whole bunch of stuff. We've been over this and we know the solutions, but it's up to us not to get discouraged when it doesn't go our way. So that's what I want to comment on, and let's just stay active on this, because we want to prevent this from continuously happening. And like I said, until we get some real consequences, it's going to happen again. Now, going on to the presidential debate, we have Trump versus Biden is tomorrow. What do y'all feel about this debate? Does this make a difference to you? For me, I feel a few different ways. I don't know how many people haven't made up their mind already. Like if you haven't made up your mind about Donald Trump by now, I don't know. And Poland have suggested this, because I seen a poll done in August stating that there's less undecided voters than there have been in the past, which it should be. Like either you rock with Trump or you don't. It shouldn't really be any middle ground at this point. Now, where the debates could come in handy is people that's undecided about Biden, not about Trump, because I know quite a few people that's undecided about Biden and on the edge of whether they should vote or not, or just outright have said they're not going to vote because of Biden's past, which is a reasonable point. I'm still going to vote for Biden just because I feel like we need to deal with Biden later. But Trump is such a danger, and he's so incompetent that he got to get out of here. And it's a difficult debate I have with some people because I notice there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and um, I I can't blame them because the government have lied to us so often that I can't blame anybody for doubting anything that the government tell us. However, I need proof. The thing that I get frustrated with, okay, I can even appreciate a good theory, but some of these theories is not even good. It just people just throw out stuff with no evidence, all emotion based, and just because somebody says something with passion doesn't mean it's true, you know. And you have to look out for that. So something like I say something, for example, like, all right, I want Trump out of office because of how he handled coronavirus and how he mishandled it. And then somebody would say, well, corona only affects people that have pre-existing conditions and it's overblown. And I'm just like, I can't, I don't even have, I don't even have the patience to get into that right now, you know? Um, so that's where it comes down to right now. When I was a little bit younger, a few years ago, I had more patience to actually do deep dives and have real discussions about this. But at this point, I feel like some people want to be contrarians just to be contrarians. You know, there's a lot of ignorance that's going around here. And don't get me wrong, if you question, I'm not calling you ignorant if you question specific stories or specific data that's put out, because that's normal and you should do that. But again, I just want some type of evidence and just not all emotion based. And if it's just your theory, don't act like it's a fact. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying, really. But I don't know. First of all, I don't know how many people is going to watch this debate that haven't made up their mind already. It seems to me that most people have made up their mind. Could Biden do? I want to ask people that are on the borderline with Biden. Could Biden say anything in this debate that make you vote for him? And I don't know. I don't know. This is just my opinion. Maybe he could sway a few people, but again, just like Trump, I think most people have made up their mind about Biden as well. Unless he comes out with some policies that I don't foresee him doing. Maybe if he would say, okay, I'm down to legalize marijuana or at least decriminalize marijuana, come up with more extensive plans, more extensive police reforms, not just in words, but like true consequences, I would appreciate that. But I don't foresee Biden doing anything like that. I foresee, you know what I'm saying, Trump is bad. And, you know, hopefully there's enough people that hate Trump to go out and vote against him. And that's where I see is going. You know, unfortunately, there is not a lot of appeal, in my opinion, to Biden himself. It's the fact that he's not Trump. At least for people my age range, older people seem to like Biden. But for people my age and younger, I don't see a lot of support for them. I just don't. What I feel like the debate is going to center on as well is probably not even going to address some of the issues that people my age are concerned about. I foresee them talking about the Supreme Court, which is important, and people my age and younger should care about that. Democrats and people on the left should care about the Supreme Court a lot more than they do. I feel like a lot of Republicans, even some Republicans that don't necessarily like Trump, will go out and vote just off the Supreme Court alone, which, you know, controls a lot of what happened in this country. They decide what's constitutional, and that basically they the last step. If a challenge happened, they take up a case of what become law and what don't. So the courts, the federal courts in general, are majorly important, and not enough of us take that seriously. That was a warning, and I see My homegirl, Miss Baba, isn't here. We used to do Always So Black together. Yo, Baba, I did a show. I listened to one of our old shows. Matter of fact, it was the show after Trump got elected, and we was talking about the Supreme Court back then in 2016. So this was foreseen not just by us, but by a lot of people that's just paying attention to politics. So in the debate, they probably will talk about the Supreme Court. They probably will talk about COVID and Trump management of COVID. They might talk about policing, maybe. And if they do, will they have specific questions, or would it be surface level? They probably will get into Trump taxes, which that's the big story right now. And again, I'm going to go what I said with Breonna Taylor. Now, the people that making the laws that's on top, we can't depend on them to write laws that that will we can't depend on them to write fair laws. So the people that's in charge of the tax code and the IRS, these laws are not written by poor or middle class individual. Most of these laws are written by people that's well-to-do. Why? They give campaign money to politicians who write these laws, and politicians who hire the bureaucrats. So why would we think that the tax code will be fair to us if we don't pay attention to it, if we don't demand it to be fair? And, we don't demand too much of our politicians. And granted, the system right now kind of making it hard to demand anything out of these politicians, especially with these gerrymandered districts. So it's not all our fault. It's just a combination. But more of us need to become knowledgeable about laws, about politics, about policy, in order to combat some of these laws that are being written. Because there's no way in hell I should be paying more taxes than Donald Trump, which I am. If you read the reports, if you read the report by the New York Times, he only pays $750 in taxes, in federal taxes, which is outrageous. But again, not surprising. I don't think it will make a difference in the election. I feel like the people that don't like Trump will be disgusted by it. I feel like his supporters will just say, oh, that was smart of him, and they don't care. I mean, if stuff like Trump University didn't move the needle, if stuff like assault and Gold Star families didn't move the needle, if stuff like him not outright lying countless times doesn't move the needle, nothing will. I could go on and on, but it just doesn't matter. So it is what it is at this point. I wish I had better news. The good news is there are people that's not giving up. There are people that's continuing to fight in their own ways, whether it's through education, whether it's through mentoring. A lot of this is going to be long term, and that's just what it is at this point. So thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow I will cover the debate. I might cover the debate live. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. I am going to cover the debate live tomorrow. And usually I talk about hip hop on Tuesdays, but yeah, I think it's important. I'm definitely going to cover this debate, and we're going to see where it goes from there. All right, thanks for tuning in. Say what I mean. Don't forget to subscribe, share the video. Definitely trying to grow the channel. So yeah, we doing it. So stay tuned tomorrow when I have my live coverage of the presidential debate. Peace.